Hello everyone and welcome to this quick tip video this week. This one is going to apply for scripts, extensions, and all types of plugins in that I'm going to be going over sort of the two globally accepted and usable methods of debugging for all types of Adobe add-ons, which will allow us to narrow down where our problem is located in our code and be able to visually see it. This is going to consist of alerts and writing to files, which are two very easy methods that can be applied to all types of Adobe add-ons to get basically to the bottom of what our issue in the code is. Before we get started, I do want to remind you down below, hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly in the channel, and down in the description you can follow us on GitHub for coding updates as well as Instagram for other live updates. If you're not already a member of our Discord server, make sure you come and join to get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, submit tutorial ideas, and much more. If you'd like to help support us on YouTube, you can do so in the description at one of two membership levels as a member or supporter, which gives you cool perks as well as helps us out financially. And you can also check out the links below to see links to AE Scripts, Gumroad, and Adobe Exchange to see some other cool stuff I make. So while there are sort of unique debugging methods for each type of Adobe add-on, where you have some which allow you to do things like console logs, some allow you to use breakpoints and stuff to more easily see what's going on. I'm going to be discussing two methods that are universal and can pretty much be applied to any kind of add-on. We're going to start by basically just illustrating it with a script. The first method is using alerts to sort of pop up a message every time you want to see if your script has gotten that far, or your extension or your plugin. If you are using an application like ExtendScript, you also have the luxury of using the global write line, which allows us to write directly to the JavaScript console. This doesn't pop up a message every time we run it, or every time we reach a sort of breakpoint, but will instead display in the JavaScript console. But for the purposes of keeping it relevant for all future cases and for all the programs, alert messages are the way to go. So in this basic example, I start off with a string with some Chinese text in it, and then I make some modifications. I add some text, I decode the URI, and then I encode the URI. Let's say one of these was causing a problem. Let's say, if I can even do this without giving me an error, you can see here we have our first alert here says OG and then displays the variable value. This will both show me that I've gotten here to line 6 in our code, and it will also show me the value of an important variable. Then in this case, it's actually going to, the program itself is actually going to tell me something's undefined. But if you had an issue and it didn't get to that line of code, we would know. So if we continue on, you can see we get to all of our alert messages, which in this case means that our entire script executed successfully. But let's say in a more complicated example, we accidentally had some code in here which prevented our lines of code from running. We see we get our first alert, OG is equal to this text, we get the number 1, and we never get to alert number 2. So that tells us we got to number 1, but not to number 2. Our problematic code is somewhere between the two. This is just a super basic and logical way to find problems in your code, whether it's JavaScript, C++, or anything else that would support alerts like this. If you're too broad and say had a huge chunk of code that you weren't sure where the problem is, then you need to get more detailed, and then you can add an alert between each line of code, which will finally tell you what the issue is. In this case, I get A, and I don't get to B, so we know that this is the problematic line of code. If you by chance happen to find the problematic line of code, but really can't tell what the problem is, if it's not some kind of basic operation like this and it's a variable, all you have to do is alert the variable, and maybe it will say not a number, undefined, or some value that you're not expecting. All in all, you basically just want to add these alert messages around your problematic code and then narrow it down to the individual lines of code and find the single line or multiple lines that are causing problems, identify if a variable is broken or what the actual issue is, but this will really help you get precise and find the true issue. Now, the second way I want to discuss is writing to a debug file. All we're going to do is create a function called write to debug file, and we're going to provide it with a variable called a string. Then we're simply going to create a file wherever we want. So I'll just say file is equal to a file object, and we'll put this on our desktop and just call it debugging.txt. Then all we have to do is open up the file like we're going to write to it, and we can then say write string. And then of course we need to close the file after we've opened it so that we can make sure it doesn't have any issues. And I'm going to change all these alert functions to write to debug file. What this is now going to do, instead of popping up a message, let's say you don't have the luxury of using a write line command and extend script, when we run this, it looks like nothing happened. But if we go to our desktop, we now have this debugging file. The problem is we don't actually see any information inside of it. I can maybe alert the string each time and see what it gives us. You can see I'm debugging our debug script. So the first string it gives us is our test text, and that's actually it. Just does it one time. And of course, silly me, that's because I still have our return false statement there. So now what this should do is, if we get our debug file to say the number 2 in it, we know we've actually completed the script, or we can just say completed. So we can run this. Again, we're going to get nothing popping up on the screen. But if I load my debugging file, you can see it says completed. So basically you have the option to format your debugging file however you want. You can have it just display the very last value that you've checked to debug or that you would normally alert, and in this case it says completed, but maybe if this said B, I would know that that's where the line stopped. You can additionally just have a giant list of everything. Maybe you have a full list of variables that are causing issues. You can alert all or put those all out into your debug file and then continue to have other debugs to see if there's problems in other parts of your code for more complicated scenarios. Definitely better than doing a million alerts or a million write lines. Having an actual debug file is definitely going to benefit you more for larger projects. And I'd say alerts are better for shorter projects or smaller projects where you actually kind of have an idea of where the issues are. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the thumbs up button down below, hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly in the channel. And down in the description, you can follow us on GitHub for coding updates, as well as Instagram for other live updates. If you're not already a member in our Discord server, make sure you come and join to get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, submit tutorial ideas, and much more. And if you'd like to help support us on YouTube, you can do so in the description by becoming a member or supporter, which comes with cool perks and loyalty badges, as well as helps us out. You can also check out the links to AE Scripts, Gumroad, and Adobe Exchange to see some other cool stuff I make. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.